Good morning, Commissioner Freeze.
Good morning, Janelle. Just so you know, I had a little trouble getting in. I don't know if others had that, but when I tried to log in from the appointment, it gave me a Zoom error saying it was an invalid ID. I had to go through the the commission webpage. So maybe others had that problem. I don't know.
Yep, I had the same issue.
Same
right.
here.
Okay.
Commissioners, this is Amanda Wagner. I don't know why that was happening because it was the same link that was in the calendars. I had the same issue this morning, but yeah, but we're here. I just don't know how to fix it since the link was the same.
Have someone joining us by phone number in the participants panel. Is that a commissioner by chance?
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Havel.
Boy, I had trouble logging in. I had to do a whole bunch of stuff. Never had to do before. Get a passcode and everything.
Yeah, we are having some troubles. We don't know why because the links are the same in the multiple places they're posted.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, because at first I tried to get in, it wouldn't let me on my laptop, so I went to my iPad, and then it asked for a whole bunch of stuff and it gave me a passcode, and then I couldn't remember my password. And then I went back to my laptop, and then I was able to get in.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Okay, so who do we have? I got to check here. We have Ezra.
Janelle, this is Marty on the phone, so it's just so you're aware.
Thank you, Marty.
I just got to check to make sure we have a quorum. Sorry, wasn't expecting all the hullabaloo and trying to get in. We have a quorum. We got Sarah.
Commissioner Eskridge, good morning.
Ezra, Beth.
Commissioner Wilson is entering the room, so we might want to wait just a moment here. So good morning, Commissioner Eskridge, and good morning, Commissioner Wilson.
Okay, so I think we have a quorum then, if I counted right. Because Greg Freeze.
Commissioner Freeze is here. He's present.
Yeah.
Commissioner
So we have a
Clark.
quorum. Okay. It's 8:01. I'll call the meeting to order. Let's see, I got to get to my agenda. Welcome to all of our guests. Janelle, can you go through the virtual meeting guidance, please?
Certainly. Good morning, commissioners, members of the public, and staff. To help us have a smooth meeting, I'm going to review just a few decorum rules for all to please follow. Number 1, please ensure your mic is muted unless you are speaking. Number 2, please state your name before speaking. Number 3, for those who are speaking, please have your cameras on if possible. If you're experiencing technological challenges, please feel free to turn them off. And number 4, as a reminder, the public chat has been disabled, but you can still send messages to the host, and this meeting is being recorded and streamed live on YouTube. With that, let's have a great meeting, everyone, and welcome.
Okay, let's see. That will take us to announcements. Michael, do you have any announcements?
No announcements today, President Hubble.
Okay. Then we'll move on to appearances by the public. Is there anybody from the public that's here that wishes to speak? I don't think I see anybody other than commissioners and staff. Anybody from the public that wishes to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent calendar. We have several items, the approval of the minutes from the December meeting, approval of cash statement capital, cash statement operating. We have sewer extension plans, 2 new construction, both in the city of Madison, and then 1 reconstruction in the city of Madison. Approval of fourth quarter 2023 sewer service charges, approval of first quarter 2024 sewer service charges for the town of Westport and Cherokee. G is review of bids and award a contract for sodium hydroxide. Acceptance of work for the West Interceptor Rehab, Seagull Road to Shorewood Boulevard, 2023 emergency project. And acceptance of work for pumping stations 13 and 14 rehabilitation. Do we have any questions on any of those items before we get a motion?
Tom, I'm looking at the first quarter charges for Westport Cherokee, and we were supposed to receive those numbers, I think, in real time. Is that true? Do we have those numbers to be able to prove that one as part of consent?
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you that I thought I read, this is Tom Wilson. I thought I read that was going to be billed through the end of January. So I don't think we have the numbers yet, but it would be appropriate to bill Westport. And I did talk to Westport about this, and they have no concerns with how the district wants to handle it. Seeing that the property will be in Westport for a month, they will end up getting a tax bill next year. So if they don't pay the sewer service charges, they can just be put on that tax bill as a special charge.
Okay, Todd, you can answer the question. Giebert?
Yes, I believe so. As Todd Giebert, Capital Planning Manager, the bill was included in an email that was sent out late yesterday afternoon, along with the other fourth quarter charges, I believe.
I missed that. Okay. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, it's roughly $329 if I remember, something in that neighborhood. And that's correct. It is the annexation is taking place on January 31st, so we're billing from January 1st through January 30th.
That works for me as far as checking in on that one consent item. I think, Tom, we're ready to go on to the whole package. I'll move approval of the whole package. How about that?
Okay.
I'll second that.
Oh, motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Wilson to approve the consent calendar items A through I. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, that will take us to the commissioner officer elections. Let's see. Michael, do you have anything you wish to say at this point?
Sure, I'll just introduce this. This is in keeping with our brand new election policy that commission established at the end of last year. There are 3 officer positions that the district is seeking new terms for, 1-year terms. That is president, vice president, and secretary. And those terms begin at the next meeting after the election today and will continue to the end of the year. So I'll turn it back over to you, President Hubble.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, do we, Commissioner Wilson, you have your hand up?
Yeah, this is you, Ezra, and Brad, correct?
Yes.
That are currently, yes. Okay. And is there any reason why you would not want to continue? Any one of you three all? Seeing no objections were made, if we could move the nominations as a slate, that's what I would move to keep the current officers in place.
Okay, a motion by Commissioner Wilson to move the current slate. Sarah, you have your hand up.
Sure, I'm happy to second. I was going to ask that same question if you, Commissioner Hubble and Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Murphy were still willing to keep serving, and ask if there was anyone else who was interested in serving. I know, speaking for myself personally, I just don't have capacity to serve, and I appreciate you all doing that if you are willing to continue. And it looked like we had head nodding, so as long as I was reading that correctly, I appreciate your service.
Okay, thank you. So, Ezra gives us a thumbs up. Yeah, I'll continue if it's the desire of the commission. And I think I saw Brad nodding his head. So we
Sure.
have a motion by Commissioner Wilson. I think that was a second by Commissioner Eskridge to approve the current slate. Okay, any further nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of the current slate of officers for the service for the next year, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. Okay, thank you.
Tom,
We'll
can I chime
move
in
on.
real quick on this after the vote there?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm simultaneously a fan of continuity and of sort of succession and planning ahead. And I think, there's an opportunity, not, this is great for today. And I think we could think about sort of how do we, with the way that we've now made sure we have clarity and open, communication about how long everyone's terms are and when we stagger and all that sort of thing, we could think about sort of the terms and how those lay out across the timeline, and then what we might do around commission and sort of continuity, but also succession and sharing some of these roles and passing them around, that kind of thing, having folks be ready to fill in if somebody's going to go off the commission and not have that be sort of a surprise or a sudden cliff that we fall off when somebody's term ends and maybe that's their last term or whatever it may be. So I don't know, a conversation we could probably have at some point to kind of balance those two important pieces.
Sarah, go ahead.
Sorry, we voted on this and now we're still talking about it, but because of what you said, Ezra, I just wanted to chime in. Maybe it's as simple, at least for now, Michael or team, if we just had a reminder a couple months before we're going to have this agenda item to kind of help people to remember that this is coming up. And for those of you who are serving in those capacities, you can think about if it's something that you're willing and interested in continuing to do, or the rest of us can think about if we have capacity to step into those roles. Just because I think sometimes it comes up and we're all like, oh, geez, yes, thank you for continuing, but it would be good to have a reminder a couple months in advance. So if anyone else is interested in stepping in, or if those of you who are not able to do so, you might have a time where you can kind of wave your hand and say, hey, actually, I'm going to need to step out of this role. So the rest of you think about if you can step up or not. Might be nice to remind us of that in advance.
Yeah, I was thinking in a future agenda topic, sort of a way after, post vote. But and I know Michael brought some of this to us when they were figuring out all the terms and making sure that we were in close communication with appointing bodies and everybody knew exactly what the terms were and all that. Next stepping stone could be to sort of think to the future a bit.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea. I think I'll put on the commission calendar a check-in, a formal check-in, to remind myself and all of you that, okay, this is coming, maybe a third quarter, and we can then address it then and look to the future. I think that's a good process step.
Okay. And it may be wise to put what their current status is in terms of years left to service.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Thank you, everybody. Let's see, we'll move on to the accepting the fourth quarter 23 focus items report. Michael? Okay.
Okay. I'm on point for this. Okay.
The
This
process
is
point, I think Commissioner Bookland has her hand up. Sorry, she took it down.
Oh.
Sorry.
I'll pause. Commissioner Bookland, do you have something to
Oh,
say?
I just was going to chime in and say that I agree that we should go ahead with putting this on the agenda and everything. So I'm in 100% agreement. That's all. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Beth. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, this is our fourth quarter report card, my fourth quarter report card. And What's exciting about this is now we have a full year of 4 quarters. And so my presentation is more looking at how did we do for the entire year based on what our intentions were when we established these focus items, which was a year ago, last October. So the commission established focus items for 2023 in August of 22. And now we're fulfilling all those focus items. Just a reminder for the public that focus items are items that the district has established as areas to give attention, that need attention and have a longer term view. And it allows for me to be able to share with you progress on longer term priorities and items that have been established during commission strategic planning, and items that I've identified from an organizational standpoint that are critical to our long-term success. So that's what this focus item report card is all about. And what I'm going to do is just go through all of these items briefly, and I'll pause at the end of each slide and see if there are any questions or comments from members of the commission. For inflow and infiltration, that's our program to reduce clean water from getting unwanted water getting into our system. And this year was about moving from planning to initial implementation. And we worked through a flow monitoring plan that was completed, and we developed 2 technical and educational resource materials for our owner communities at their request. So we're moving forward, and then in 2024, we will be moving with our advisory committee towards an implementation of a DRIPS program, which is disconnect, reduce, inflow, and infiltrate to private sewers, more of a regional approach to I&I. Greenhouse gas reduction efforts. Over the last year, staff have focused on learning about wastewater treatment greenhouse gas emission opportunities to reduce them. This approach we have taken is really inspired by the greenhouse gas tour I went on in Denmark last year. And the biggest takeaway was that the majority of greenhouse gas reduction efforts occur at the operations level, and staff innovation drives solutions. Wastewater managers, in essence, are energy managers, and focusing on the demand side is really where the district is going to make long-term progress. What we did is, instead of coming to you with a plan this year, which was identified in the focus item report card, in our first quarter, we said we're going to take more time to build internal support for greenhouse gas emissions and our plans, and try to link them better to the capital plan. Because in order to get the support we need for greenhouse gas emissions, we need a plan that has stretch in it, but also has feasible options for treatment processes. And so we've spent more time doing that this year, and we will return to the commission with a finalized greenhouse gas reduction plan in 2024. You approve that in the 2024 focus items, and that will be bringing that to you, and it'll be a fairly well-vetted plan. I do want to mention, while we're looking at this longer term plan of how we reduce greenhouse gas emissions, that we've had a few wins this year of actually reducing them or moving towards reducing them. You may recall that we installed solar panels on the maintenance facility, which now those solar panels make up 75% of the building's energy needs. And secondly, Madison Gas and Electric and the district have committed to developing a memorandum of understanding to explore a large-scale solar project together, and also work on backup power generation at the treatment plant. So those are 2 really important things that were done this year. Ongoing commission process improvements on commission development. Towards the end of last year, we had a meeting, and the commission indicated your desire for professional development and growth with a focus on governance and policy making. And you said you preferred that we bring somebody in instead of going out to seek training. After that meeting, I put out a request for quotes, and which is due this week. And what I hope to do is work with Commissioner Freeze and Commissioner Bookland, who volunteered to work with me, to evaluate those proposals so we can bring a development plan to you in the first or second quarter of 2024. And then with equity, the commission approved an equity action matrix of things that we will be pursuing this year around a memorandum of understanding with the Capital Springs Recreation Area, and also working with a community of practice group on equity thoughts and considerations. And I'm already reaching out to owner communities to gauge their interest in participating in such a group. And so we're already moving forward on the equity front. So I'll pause there and see if there are any comments or questions on this first slide.
Okay, anybody have any comments or questions on the 4 items covered so far? Ezra, go ahead.
Michael, I just wanted to check the greenhouse gas reduction plan is on track to come together in 24. I'm trying to remember whether we've got sort of substantial budget for that. Is that something that was in the budget we adopted for 2024? Would you remind us, please?
The budget, we're developing the plan in-house, and the implementation aspects of what it will cost to implement that plan will be outlined in the plan, and ultimately it will be in the capital improvements plan. Any type of new initiatives that address capital or implementation. So we're covered, in other words, in 2024.
Great. Mostly an internal process, not that we're hiring anyone or that sort of thing. Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? I don't see any hands up. So Michael, why don't you move forward? Okay.
PFAS sampling and monitoring. The deliverable this year was provide commission with an update and get their guidance on next steps. The phase 2 results were shared with the commission, and the commission, you approved a proposal and spending authorization for sampling and analysis in 2023 to begin to fill some of the knowledge gaps that we have with PFAS. So we're moving forward with that plan. With service charges and rates, this is our goal this year was to review with a community work group and get commission guidance on next steps. A couple of things that came out of our meeting with the owner communities was advanced communication on what potential service charge impacts would be, and also shift our attention to the feasibility of looking at an industrial billing program to address what we've learned, where a lot of the variations are is in inflows and loadings are more with industrial users. We did this year, with the presentation of the 2024 budget, did provide advanced communication to our owner communities. And we have a 2024 focus item that I'll be reporting to you on how we're making progress on an industrial billing program, and at least evaluating the feasibility of it. Badger Mill Creek phosphorus compliance, this was a big one. When we came into this year, the goal was that to have the commission make a final compliance decision, which the commission did. And with that as well, we're moving into implementation of that compliance solution. So that was a big accomplishment for this year. So I'll pause there to see if there are any comments or questions from the commission.
Okay, anybody have any comments or questions? I don't see any hands up. Michael, I got something that's kind of unrelated to this, but in fact, I was going to send you an email, but I didn't do that. This past week, I saw an article. I don't remember where it was, but it was rather interesting, and it talked about nanoplastics. and how small they are. They even get into people's organs and bloodstream. And I just didn't know if that's something we should keep an eye on, because like PFAS and stuff, I can see that becoming the next venture that we may have to tackle. I
Yes.
don't know if you've ever heard anything at any of the conferences from NACWA or anything on that, but they'd be very difficult because they're so small they get into people's organs and bloodstreams, at least the report that I was reading. So
Yeah, it is something that we're aware of and we're monitoring. And again, with something like that, the pollution prevention strategy might be where we could make have some benefits in that area. But it's an emerging area of concern, that's for sure.
yeah, and it's probably more they have to deal with the source than the product itself, the end, like we have to do with PFAS. Okay. Why don't you continue, Michael? I don't see any other hands up.
All right. Reliability centered maintenance. In the 2023 budget, the commission supported 2 new planning positions, which were filled, and those planners have been integrated into the operation and maintenance department workflows. I know that Eric Dundee and his team, they're now working on developing those KPIs or performance measures of how we monitor success of the reliability center maintenance program. And that is something that we're going to circle back with the commission on and just give you an update on reliability center maintenance, what it is, what success looks like, how we're measuring success, and that'll be something in 2024. The enterprise resource planning implementation, this is going to be a major multi-year project. And our output this year was to select a replacement option and establish a project team and secure support to determine what that option is. And the long and short of it, what we wanted to get done this year is to begin moving towards hiring a consultant to help us develop and evaluate different solutions for us. A request for proposal went out. We've received 14 proposals. They're being evaluated now. And we expect to come to the commission in March with a request for approval of that consultant. We also, along with that and before it, owe you a study session on what an enterprise resource planning system is and what we're in for with that. And that will be planned with the commission ahead of approval of a consultant. And it will be 4 phases to this project. One, and a very important one, is readiness and a needs assessment. And then phase 2 is putting out and developing a request for proposal for the development of a new system. 3 would be vendor evaluation and selection. And then the 4th phase is implementation of the project and to develop change management and change leadership services, because the success of a program like this is how we get all staff and all of us to be able to use the system effectively and have the system work for employees. And so we're taking our time and taking a very deliberative approach to our ERP, and you'll be hearing much more about that. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is more of a process step. We did hire an organizational development specialist, which was also in our budget for 2023. And Amy has a DEI strategy change team, and they have been meeting regularly to begin to develop a strategy and work plan. And there'll be a check-in when they have information to share with the commission at a future time. So I'll pause there to see if there are any questions or comments.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Comments? Anyone have any questions or comments?
Quick one. I've got one. Just thinking about, Michael, we had equity up above as an item, and then diversity, equity, and inclusion down here. It's maybe not explicit in the write-up for today's packet, but the equity item up above was really, I'm thinking about people's ability to pay the rates that end up coming to them through their local community and what we can potentially do around helping with that. Am I right?
That's correct. It's more the outward facing work.
Okay. That's great. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, Michael, why don't you move
I'll
on?
keep rolling on here. Executive team leadership and oversight. One of the things I committed to doing was doing an evaluation with BJ Rogers, a consultant. That work has been conducted, and I've been giving commission briefings on the status of that work, and I'll be making a little bit more of a report on the outcome of that during my CED update. Employee engagement action plans were created in Q4 based on the survey results of the employee engagement survey, which was completed. And we'll be returning, Mike Lipsky will be returning coming up here with what we've been doing and some of the follow-up work we've been doing around responding to the results of that survey. And then emergency management is something that we've put on the pause list, although we're doing work on emergency management. We're in terms of developing emergency management, a disaster recovery plan, we've put that on hold, and I've shared that with the commission previously. So that's all I have for this report, and interested in your feedback on the report for the year and any improvements for next year.
Okay, excuse me. Anyone have any comments for improvement? Might take a little while for us to digest all of that, Michael. So, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Michael, for that. I thought it was very helpful to have that. And, I know it takes a little bit of time for you to put it all together, but it's also good, I suppose, for you too, as kind of a reminder where we are here, right? So I appreciate it, and like the way it was presented, and think that this whole process is moving in the right direction. So thanks.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Beth?
Yeah, I just wanted to say again to Michael, thank you. I look forward to taking a deep dive into some of these areas as the year progresses and learning more about it. So I appreciate kind of the 30,000-foot overview of everything, but really looking forward to taking a deep dive into some of these, and especially about ERP, which is something I don't know anything about. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that, and how the commission can be involved in that as well. So thank you.
Okay, thanks, Beth. I turned off my video because I saw that I had unstable internet connection. And I don't know why I got the three things full, and I just put an extender in the house too, but apparently there's got to be some other issue. Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions? Nope. Okay, let's move on to. Okay, thank you very much, Michael, for that. I have to bring my.
We have a resolution to approve the focus items, right? Yeah.
Right, I had to bring the my thing went off. I have to get it back up here. Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the resolution for accepting the fourth quarter items?
I'll move approval of the resolution.
And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Meyer, second by Commissioner Bookland to approve the 2023 focus items report. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed? None, motion carries. Okay, that will take us to item 4C, the evaluation of the CED performance review process.
I'll lead this. President Hubble, I'll be happy to lead this one off. This is a
Okay, go
study
ahead.
session. This is a study session, and we're not looking for any decisions today. But the commission established a new review process for the chief engineer and director for this year. And during the development of that process, the commission indicated, let's do an after action review after the first year to see how things are going, because there were some big changes that were made. Maybe for some of the new commissioners' benefit, one of the changes that was made was that the commission used a third-party consultant to gather, synthesize, and present evaluative data, survey data, which was a big change. In the past, commissioners did that themselves. The quarterly dashboard, which we just reviewed today, is part of the evaluation process. It's part of an ongoing process. And the commission encouraged staff to evaluate options to administer a broader owner satisfaction survey, which Amanda is working on and is developing a plan that will be that you'll learn more about coming up in the future. So those were the changes that were made. And since the development of that process, there were other things that we've implemented as a district that could be, I would say, arguably part of the evaluation of the district and the CED's performance. The commission approved a monitoring schedule for metrics that I'll be sharing with you. And you also provided feedback on those metrics on ways to make them better. The commission received the results of an employee engagement survey with 3 leadership focus questions, and a third-party hotline went live in August to allow employees to provide anonymous feedback. So those were items that are also create a robust evaluation of the district and the CED. So at this point, the questions I've laid out in the commission agenda report for you to consider are, what are elements of the process that work particularly well for you? What elements of the process created challenges or could be improved? And what information sources were most useful to you? And based on all of that, are there adjustments that should be made to the process or to your policy? So with that summary, President Hubble, I'll turn it back over to you and the commission.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Anybody have any thoughts on this, on the process, how it worked? We should continue with it? Brad, you have your hand up? Go ahead.
Sure. I thought the process worked quite well, actually, and I think the changes that were made were very helpful. I liked the involvement of a third-party consultant. I thought that was efficient for the commissioners who previously had to do that work on their own, and I found that to be very helpful. The quarterly reports, I think, are good on the focus items. So I mean, overall, I thought the changes worked very well, and so I'm satisfied with where we're at currently. Thank you.
Sarah, go ahead.
Thanks. I agree with Brad. And as someone who sat through that process for a couple of years, I just say, in some ways, I think we got better feedback and higher quality feedback when we used a third party, because, you know, our consultant was just able to synthesize and provide a little bit more of an independent evaluation, as opposed to us as commissioners trying to do that ourselves. So I really appreciated that process. The future consideration that's in my mind is just how regularly we do a full 360 review with an independent consultant. I know other organizations particularly once we get into routine of these more regular check-ins, which I agree completely are super helpful, both the kind of organizational ones that we do through the progress reports and the closed sessions that we do with you, Michael, for a little bit more of those internal professional development, for lack of a better way to describe it, conversations. I just wonder if it's something that we do more on a periodic basis, every other year, every 3 years, we do a full 360, but somehow getting into a routine where we understand that we're getting a full report and feedback from your direct reports, but also recognize that it's a pretty time intensive process. And if we're doing all of these other check-ins, maybe we don't need to do it every single year.
Yeah, I was going to raise the same issue if we needed to do that every year. It's a rather intensive review, and we've done a great deal of additional things like the employee engagement survey and stuff like that. Probably helps inform us more than what we got through our review information, even as detailed as that review information was. So yeah. The question is, what do we do in between? Do we just have the consultant work with us, just work with the commission in terms of the review, and then following year, so every odd numbered year we would do an in-depth review, and then every even number year it's less, unless there's some circumstance that comes up to dictate otherwise. Beth?
Yeah, I was just thinking that it might be useful to have the commission talk to the consultant and come up with a plan going forward as far as, how often we do these reviews and how in-depth they should be, because I think, and then we can come up with a long-term plan, like say every other year we do a 360 or every third year, and the involvement as far as the commission in those reviews as well, in the steps along the way. So I think working with the consultant on coming up with a plan would be something that I'd like to consider anyway. Thanks.
Sarah, go ahead, and then Ezra.
I can defer to Ezra since I've already spoken, if that's okay.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I like Beth's point. One of the things in answer to this sort of question on the table that I liked is, and I was a part of this for a long time, in different ways of doing it that evolved over my time here in the commission, certainly. BJ brings a professional knowledge and experience to this that, don't mean to throw Sarah or anyone else who was with me as part of that under the bus, but we were experienced and educated amateurs at it, but not professionals, right? We have our experiences on other boards and our own professional experience as evaluated and evaluator and all that, but we did our best. But I think BJ just brings that professionalism. I think that's, to Beth's point, engaging BJ a bit around thinking about what may make sense going forward makes a ton of sense. I'll just note one other thing in my sort of reflection on again the answer to the question on the table. I was a little torn, about what we would lose not doing some of that as commission and handing it off to a third party. But in the end, the workload piece certainly was welcome. But more importantly than that, I think the way that BJ could help work with Michael and I think Sarah and I'm remembering a year or so ago identifying this as a gap. We were never quite able to turn feedback looking backwards into action plan going forward in as robust or as effective of a way as I think we would have liked to. And BJ and Michael, working together, it seems to me, have been able to make that just really solid and work really well for Michael and I think for us on the commission. So that's, for me, is one of the strengths that now looking back, I was a little worried what we'd lose, but what we've gained is so significant that to me, I'm feeling really good about the process. I always saw value, and I still think I see a lot of value in doing it pretty regularly. And so I'm hearing the concept folks are floating about maybe not doing it quite as often as every year. I could see doing it every other year. To my mind, maybe 3 gets to be a little too far. Every third year gets to be a little too too spaced apart, but some kind of process that's pretty regular every year or every other year. But again, I like Beth's point that we maybe engage a little bit with BJ around that and make our final decision. Thanks for setting this up, Michael, though, for us to think about how it worked for last year. Good to do that while it's still pretty fresh.
Okay,
Yeah,
Sarah.
thanks, Tom. Agree. I was going to emphasize what Beth said about having a conversation with BJ about it for all the reasons that Ezra reinforced. The other couple of points that I would make is that when we did this process in the past, one of the challenges was that we were intermingling organizational performance with CED performance. And they are obviously incredibly related, as the CED is responsible for the performance of the organization and the district as a whole. But we were having trouble teasing apart individual performance and organizational performance. And I think we've gotten better about that. And as we've said, we have better mechanisms for checking in on organizational performance in a more transparent way, which is really beneficial. And I want us to continue, and I think this actually ties into one of our agenda items later on the agenda around organizational restructuring. I think there's further opportunity to continue to see the benefits of organizational performance monitoring more robustly and getting feedback from employees more robustly and making sure that all of those kind of things are moving in the right direction without losing our responsibility as a commission to be managing CED's professional performance, right? And so we are able to, be your boss, Michael, as is our responsibility statutorily and in our own policies and procedures, and also make sure that we are ultimately providing responsibility along with you for organizational performance. And so as we think about process moving forward and consult with BJ, another piece that I'd love to talk to him about around kind of professional CED, or what we're likely to call our executive director's performance moving forward. I wonder, we've always thought about it as kind of just the 360 review. And I think there's actually an ability to build out our policies to reflect that we aren't just reviewing performance when we do a 360, particularly if we start doing a 360 only every other year or every 3 years. But perhaps there's a more internal process that we just go through with you as a commission, Michael, to say, all right, every year, you're providing us with your review of how things went. We have a conversation about that, just like you would with any other employee on an annual basis. But the more robust 360 process is, more periodic. Anyway, all to say, I think there are a lot of ideas and ways that we could enhance the process for the professional performance monitoring piece that we are required to do for our direct report, and reflect that in policy, as well as continuing the strides we've taken to make sure that we're more active and engaged as a commission in organizational performance monitoring.
Okay, anyone else have any other comments? Anyone else? Marcia, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I had a Zoom glitch this morning and I was late. I guess I caught early, and since I've been on since April, May, the meeting with BJ, and I remember that being, really, I thought a lot of impressed by him. So I'm not really sure. I think actually all of you are kind of brilliant with your comments. So I don't really have more to add to that. But thinking about the kind of related topic of the restructuring, and how Michael would have more of an external focus versus only, and then sort of give up some of the, day-to-day stuff to his, his executive team. I think that is really a benefit of, if this is included in that, if that is included in this process, is a benefit, because I think the public trust will benefit from having a very active leader at the top that does kind of go out and touch the community more than just touching the staff and, doing all that mental work to run the organization. So not sure that that exactly fits in, but that's kind of what I thought of as I was listening. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Marcia. I missed some of that because my internet connection went out again, so I'm switching rooms. Okay, so I think, Michael, the way forward on this is to set up something with BJ, kind of a two-step process, one where there's the intense 360 review like we did last year, and then the other where it's a less intense review that we like his input on. And then we can determine with how that works, if it's once every 360s every 2 years or how that works. But we'd like his input in terms of the that shorter refined review process that we may do. Beth?
I just wanted to say that I like it, the commission to actually meet with BJ, maybe and discuss the different options and then decide how, you know, we would move forward, whether and how the commission would be involved in the different processes. For example, you know, for example, if we decide to do the 360 review every other year and some shortened version on the opposite years, then how, you know, what would that look like and how we would move forward? And maybe even BJ could put together a proposal or kind of a straw document for the commission to take a look at and think about ahead of time, so we could then all kind of discuss it and agree with what that process might look like.
And that's what I was basically getting at, is for Michael to contact BJ and get some thoughts together, and then he would meet with us and based on his thoughts, and then we could refine those thoughts if we need be. So does that make sense, Michael?
It does make sense. My only question will be timing, because my 2023 review is upon us, and it's supposed to start now. And so what I will do is I'll reach out to BJ and look for his availability at a future commission meeting. Our calendar is wide open the next couple of meetings, and I'll see if he's available to check in with you, because I think it'd be good to have the discussion about what are we going to do this year, because it's right here, and then some of these longer term things. And I'll have him be prepared to address some of these interests that you've shared with me.
Okay. Make sense, everybody? Heather's got his hand up. I see some heads nodding of those that have their video on. Okay. So that concludes 4C. That will take us to the Chief Engineer and Director report. Michael, the CED update?
Yes, I have just one update. In the last year, through research, conversations, and my own discovery process, including through this 360 review process, it has become apparent that the district has outgrown its current leadership structure, as we've experienced much growth and change. And a particular concern has been key considerations related to day-to-day operations that they haven't received as much attention as they should have. To address this concern, I've restructured the district's leadership, and it went into effect this week. It's now going to be organized under a newly formed executive office, and I will have 2 direct reports, Eric Dundee and Bill Walker. This design is to bring role clarity to the top of the organization, facilitate better decision-making, workload management, and project prioritization. To share just a little bit more about the executive office, Eric will become the district's principal engineer, and he'll be responsible for the functions to deliver value to the areas of wastewater operations, regulatory compliance, and engineering. Bill will become the deputy executive director. He's always been my second in command, and he will remain that remain to have that responsibility. And he'll be responsible for the functions that support the effective operations of the district and ensure the organization itself functions well. And with the commission's formal approval at the next meeting, my title will change to executive director. And the most significant change to my role is the explicit delegation of day-to-day operations to Eric and Bill. And I will also expand my work with the commission and outside the fence with stakeholders and the communities. The other directors will continue to oversee their departments as they always have, and will work closely with the executive office on matters of district-wide importance. This restructure was accomplished using existing staff resources. I would like to congratulate Bill and Eric on their well-deserved promotions and thank all the directors for their involvement and support to make this change a reality. And finally, I want to thank the commission for your guidance and support through this process. It was invaluable to me. So thank you very much. That's my only report.
Okay, thank you, Michael, and good luck to the two new subheads, Eric and Bill. Sarah, you have a comment?
Yeah, just a couple, a comment and piece of feedback. Thank you, Michael, for providing this update to us and for the conversation in advance of this announcement and rollout. A couple, I mean, I think we've already started to allude to this in our previous agenda item, but I for one, think that the change makes a lot of sense, particularly because of the feedback we've gotten previously and the direction that we continue to move towards as a district. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all of the team, especially all of the directors and their role in these process changes, but also just expect that the continued collaboration and hopefully less siloing and all of those good things will happen when there's clear lines of accountability and opportunities for collaboration on district operations and supporting those operations. So anyway, the one piece of feedback that I had was when we look to this, either when we look to approve this at our next meeting or in our conversation about CED process moving forward, Michael, I think it would be helpful if you could provide to us an updated job description proposal of what kind of your job description would be as executive director. And then we can factor that into our updates to the performance process as well. And I'm sure you've got some thoughts about that, but I think that would be helpful moving forward. And I echo the congratulations and thanks to everyone for making this process successful.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Tom?
Well, as usual, Sarah stole my thunder. I was pretty much going to say kind of the same thing, but just to reiterate, this is really where all the evaluations that we have done seem to be heading. And we have great people at this district. We're very lucky, really lucky. And to be able to have two people that are behind Michael besides everyone else, it's a wonderful thing. So thanks to all the commissioners too for all the input that was provided. It really was helpful here. And congratulations to
Okay.
Eric
thanks,
and
Tom.
Bill.
Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Have I
We
frozen
can,
up
Tom.
again?
Commissioner
Okay.
Bookland has her hand up in Zoom. Just
Okay. Beth, can you go ahead?
Yep, thank you. I just wanted to say again, to echo the conversation so far that I think the commission has thought about this and really support Michael in this reorganization. And it just shows our confidence in Eric and Bill too, moving forward, that they're able to do this and to deliver for us. And I wanted to also echo Sarah's comment about job descriptions for Michael, but I think it would be good for the commission to see a job description for Eric and Bill as well going forward. So again, great news, and we look forward to working with the new structure. I think it'll be a benefit. So thank you.
Okay, so Michael, you'll get those job descriptions. I'm sure you've probably already worked on
They're done.
those. Yep, you would think so. Okay, that will move
Okay.
us to the regulatory and legal report. Vanessa?
Good morning, everyone. We included a regulatory review in your packet materials for this week, but I wanted to provide two updates to that regulatory review. The first is on pending legislation. There was a hearing yesterday on that the Senate Bill 691, Assembly Bill 768, which is called the Urban Towns Bill. And it sounds like the provisions in that bill related to water and sewer service, it sounds like those are that could potentially impact the district. It sounds like those are likely to be removed from the legislation. I'll follow up on that and let you know further. We'll do an update in the next regulatory review on that legislation. And then on the PFAS bill, Senate Bill 312, Assembly Bill 312, there is an executive session on that bill scheduled for today. So there'll be a discussion in the Assembly Committee, and they'll recommend further action from the rest of the Assembly coming out of that executive session. So we'll keep you posted on that as well. And then with respect to the PFAS rules, we noted that DNR is continuing to move forward on groundwater rules for PFOS, PFOA, PFBS, and the Gen X compounds. However, the DNR determined after the finalization of its economic impact analysis that rule, it would impose costs over $10 million in a 2-year period. And that triggers a statutory requirement that the rule be paused pending legislative action. So the rule implementation or further action on that rule is paused right now while we wait to see if the legislature puts forward a bill that would ask DNR to keep working on that rule. We also noted in this review that the anti-degradation rule is also currently paused because the legislature has asked for some modifications to that rule. So those are the two major pending rules that are both, those initiatives are both paused for the meantime, or for the time being. I'm happy to answer any questions if there's any on this regulatory review or anything else that the commission has.
Okay, anything, questions or any items for Vanessa? Okay, I don't see any hands up. Thank you very much, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Interesting developments on that urban towns bill.
Very, yes.
Okay, let's see. That will take us to the future meeting schedule that's in the packet. And I'm not going to try to bring it up right now, given my internet difficulties. Then that takes us to closed session, to convene in a closed session in accordance with 1985(1)(c) of the Wisconsin statutes to consider employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. This is a performance briefing for the fourth quarter of 2023. Do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Wilson, I'm happy to make that motion as you described.
Happy to second.
Okay.
Commissioner Meyer.
Motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Meyer to go into closed section. Janelle or Amanda, could one of you do the roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Commissioner Bookland,
Aye.
Commissioner Eskridge,
Aye.
Commissioner Freeze,
Aye.
Commissioner Havel,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Murphy,
Aye.
Commissioner Rummel,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. So let's see, they'll be setting up a closed session room, I guess. Right?
Yes, one moment, please.
Okay.
President Hubble, just letting you know that I have to go at 9:25 for a 9:30 meeting at work. If we end up over in closed session that long or whatever, I'll just end up ducking out when I do, so I may not be here for adjournment.
Okay.
We'll see what happens though.
Do we need to do anything to go into closed session?
I'm not seeing an option yet, but clearly for some folks that
Yes,
option
that's what
must
I
have come
see.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in the
Yep,
same.
one moment. I'm just gonna add you to the room, guys.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Janelle.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Janelle.
Yep.
See you in room 1.
Okay. Amanda and Janelle, we had a motion by Commissioner Murphy, second by Commissioner Wilson to move back into open session. And I did a roll call vote and it was unanimous through all commissioners. After the vote, Commissioner Meyer left the room. He has another meeting to attend. So what we did in closed sessions is we discussed the implications of the executive changes on the performance of the executive director. And we'll be discussing those further again as we had some discussion in open session about his performance evaluation process. So we'll be doing that a little bit more at that point in time too. So that was basically what occurred in our closed session. And there's no action or anything to take. That takes us to future agenda topics. Anybody have anything they want to have on a future agenda? Seeing none, that takes us to other business. I don't see any hands up for anybody on that. So do we have a motion to adjourn? Tom?
It's Wilson. I'll move we adjourn.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by
Commissioner Freeze, I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Freeze to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. See you in a
Thank
couple
you.
weeks.
See
Thanks,
y'all.
everybody.
Take care.
Enjoy it. Enjoy the snow.
Enjoy the snow, yeah.